They're shaking from that Celsius.
It's the 200 milligrams of caffeine, and no breakfast. Welcome. It's Christian Olson with eXp Realty and the Frank Oliver Collective, aka Mike Frank Jr. with
Heather Kelley. I also work with eXp Realty and the Frank Oliver Collective.
You're in for an interesting podcast here today, folks. Jeff Bisker, shout out, gang baby. Heather, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about tips to list your home on the market, especially in the springtime.
Okay, hit me with one.
Curb appeal.
Curb appeal. Okay,
I haven't
what do you
looked
mean?
at the notes yet, so I could be capping.
That is number one.
Really? Number one? You looked.
Pinky promise.
On God?
Pinky promise.
On Jeff Bisker?
On Jeff Bisker. Not to put you in a here.
No, we were talking about Jeff before the podcast, how he always supports us and we love it. So shout out to you, man. Anyways.
We love Goosehead Insurance.
Yeah, Goose Gang.
But curb appeal, like people want to envision themselves moving into the home. Like they want to picture themselves living there. So I think making it visually aesthetic, making it a place that they would want to live in and like can picture themselves adding on to instead of having to start from scratch.
Yeah.
Especially for like families looking, especially for people that are looking to move into something that's already ready. I think having like a well manicured lawn and things like that are the first impression that they get. Like the first picture is always going to be the front of the house. If it's disgusting, I mean, the inside can be nice.
Yeah.
But
when I go on, not that I've had like a million listings, but when I go on listing appointments and I see that they have just a lot of shit, right? I'm like, oh God, we gotta do something here. I think the biggest one, it's kind of relatable to curb appeal, is what do we call it? The 3 Ds of real estate. Do you know what they are?
design.
D's, no, I'm kidding. No, it is deep clean, declutter, and depersonalize.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean by all those?
Be nice.
So we need to clean the property, make sure it's presentable. So I feel like that's kind of similar to curb appeal, except on the inside, right? But you can also do outside.
You have to think about how you would want people to come through during showings. Like,
yeah, like your house can't be a mess. If you have a lot of crap, what I recommend doing is getting a pod, putting some of your stuff out there and storing it in the pod. And then, as you're listing your home, you just have the necessities to live, right? So you have like your bed, toothbrush, maybe a couple pots and pans. Yeah. I mean, if you want to get your whole home sold for top dollar, like that's what you got to do, right? That couple $100 or whatever you spend on a pod is going to be reflected back into your purchase price if you take the right steps. But if you have, a couch, all your family photos laying around, like all your weird artwork that people might not relate to, right? Like it's like yours
leaning up against the wall, not actually like framed.
Right. You got to make it feel like home to these people who are walking through. So that was kind of decluttering, depersonalized, deep clean. Hire a cleaning company to come out there, clean up all the stains on your carpet if you haven't replaced it. There's probably a lot of little like grime on your oven, from you cooking, some stains everywhere. But we just want to
baking soda and vinegar, baby, wrapped out.
Go to town. Yeah,
get a toothbrush in there, call it a day.
So I think that's the biggest thing for me and my clients. That's what I tell them, right? I think it's very important, and especially like when I walk into a home and it hasn't checked off the 3 Ds of real estate, I'm like, huh. Like,
who's your agent?
Right.
Do you know, like, and trust them? 'Cause I'm one.
Right. So let's see what else is on this list. What do we have?
So she said price it right. I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory, especially when we're in lower inventory right now.
Well, you know what's crazy? What? So speaking of that, and then also like working with an agent that you trust, I've been sending out these equity review mailers. Like they're going to be coming out like I don't even know how to describe. There's going to be so many shipped out. Like I'm just mass doing them. So if you're listening, you might get one. If you haven't gotten one, send me a message. But like, is the agent that you're working with doing these types of things, right? Are they reviewing the market, reviewing your neighborhood? Are they creating a relationship with you, or is this someone that you just Googled and it's the first person that came up and you're clicking on it? Do they have your best interest in your interest as a priority?
Your best interest as a priority.
Is that how we would word it? Sometimes I can't talk. I feel like English is just hard.
Language.
So I've been sending those out, again, trying to familiarize myself with some of the communities, but I've also grown up there. I've lived there for 20 something years. So I know a lot about them. And a big thing with these annual equity reviews, just like the Popeyes or anything that we drop off, the most important thing isn't just dropping it off.
Yeah, it's the conversation, the follow-up.
110%.
So let me ask you a question then. So you've been doing these equity reviews for like a year, right? Mm-hmm. How have you been doing them to the same people? And if so, what are the number differences that you've seen? Have you been measuring any of that?
So I haven't measured them. This year I'm doing it a bit differently. So last year it was like pick 20 friends, family, whoever owns a home, people you know, send it to them, have the same conversation, kind of like the Popeye, but like, hey, did you get my annual equity review in the mail? You know, I'd love to take some time to go over it with you. Have you had thoughts of selling? And they're like, most of the times, no. And then sometimes you kind of like the conversation with this morning. And they're like, really? And they're like, well, blah, blah,
like,
blah.
No.
Right. And then also, I ask if they know of anyone else that's been looking to, or especially in their community with there being very low inventory. And there's a lot of information in the annual equity review that we send out about the market, what's going on, what they project in the next couple of months and year, what have you. But you have that conversation, and then it opens up so many doors. You build rapport there. You build rapport with the next person. Hey, do you know anybody? Oh, your buddy Joe's looking to buy a house or sell a house. Great. Yeah. Create a group chat with me. Like, let's have a soft introduction. I'll reach out to him.
Yeah.
But instead of just doing it with family and friends and having that conversation, what I'm doing is going to these communities that I've known about since I've lived in the area of Calvert County. So like Dunley's one of them, Lions Creek Overlook, Cross Point, Apple Green, you know, where these people have lived there for 20, 30 years. All their kids are probably my age, and they're done with college. They're on to their adult jobs, and maybe these parents want to move somewhere where the weather is warm year round, right?
Hey, yo, Florida.
Everyone seems like they want to pack their bags and go to Florida.
Literally me. I'm not kidding, especially after this past winter.
Well, we had a mild winter. What are you talking about?
No.
What? I would say it was a mild. We didn't even get snow.
I want this thing to zoom up on my face while I say
I don't know what you're talking about. We didn't get any snow. I feel like it was mild.
You can't actually be sassy, so you just blink. Really
you can be sassy.
Slow,
but a lot of these people, they want to pack their bags, move out of town, or maybe they just don't know what the value of their home is. So I'm sending them out. And what I've done, I texted Mike the other day. I was like, I'm the Steve Jobs right now in real estate. I've cracked the system in a way. So like, let's just use Dunley for an example, right? Like, I don't know every single person that lives in there. I know a couple people, right? But I don't have every other person's phone number or email or anything, right? So when we originally got partnered with Berkshire Hathaway into MLS, there's a couple tools that we can use to find out people's information, you know, whatever. So on Remine, it's one tool. Some people use it for pointless things, right? But
Habubbery.
What? Was that English? What does that even mean?
Just keep going.
But the way that I've been using it, I've been tracking or like outlining these communities. So Dunley, about 30 something houses, have it circled. I export their information to a CSV files, which we use to upload to our CRM. Upload it to the CRM, has their name, their phone number if it has one, email if it has one, anyone that's attached to the property on the title or the deed or whatever, right? So the owners. And then I can put a tag on which neighborhood they are. So Dunley, if there's another one, Lions Creek Overlook, tag there. And then I can call them on a list, 30 people, let's go. And then I call them, and those flyers that we have for Mike's neighborhood, I don't know which one it is, but I think it was Milford Court. I don't know.
Is Erica
Milford?
Erica's Allison.
Yeah. So Milford, same thing that we're doing there, right? Instead of like going to these people's doors, because I'd be walking miles and miles a day because they're so separated, right? I dropped them off in the mailbox. I made this list, put into my CRM, just went straight through. It's like, hey, it's Christian Olson with eXp Realty. I just wanted to reach out to you about the property that's for sale across the street from you. I had dropped a flyer off in your mailbox the other day. Does it sound familiar? And people are like, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's like, okay, so you got my flyer. You saw that we have 8 other people that are interested. My clients threw an offer on the home, but it didn't get accepted. I'm curious, do you know of anyone in the community that has had thoughts of selling? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, it's a very desirable neighborhood. We had people pretty much lined up knocking at the door to purchase this home, right? So it's of high demand, and I'm just trying to get my buyers their new home, right? So it's like, one, yeah, I want you to sell your property, but two, I'm also working super hard for my buyers. In their mind, they're like, oh wow, this guy's going to town, like he's really trying to get a deal done here for his people. And then they have the equity review mailer. It's not a full-on cold call because I kind of warm them up with that, right? And then I lead into the I transition to the conversation like, I'm going to be sending out these annual equity review mailers here in the next week or two. Is it okay if I drop one off in your mailbox again? They're like, for sure. And so like, boom, another thing of like rapport, right? So maybe there's something next month that I do, just drop it off again. Like, hey, ring, like so-and-so, you got my equity review mailer. Hey, do you have any questions? I'd love to sit down and talk to you about your position in today's market. And then whatever I drop off next, it's like, boom, call again. Like the Popeye, like the call, what is it? Popeye call note, or however Mike words it, right? But it's something like that, building the rapport, knowing the community, and just kind of keeping your name out there. I had a fantastic conversation. It was the first guy I called, which normally doesn't go that well. And he was like, yeah, dude, like I'm like not ready right now, but probably in the next year or so, if you keep putting your name in front of me and like doing what you're doing, man, you're hustling, working hard. All the guys that work for my company at noon, they were out playing golf. So I respect what you're doing. I was like, hell yeah, man. Like I just said, I'm sending out these review mailers. Like, would you like one? He's like, yeah. And then he was like, I'll send you a couple pictures of my house so we have a little bit more information, blah, blah, blah. So he sent me 10 pictures. I'm like, boom, this is perfect. Like, got information. I know his timeline. I know what he wants to do. I know a little bit about the neighborhood and the community. I know even outside of the community what these properties in Dunkirk are selling for. Mm-hmm. So then I have so much information I can provide to this guy. It's just a matter of time for him, right? Mm-hmm. But if I keep putting my name out there, and making these little touch points, you're golden. Yeah. But I think the problem is if you put your name out there, or if you just send out an equity review mailer or a card or Popeye and you don't call them, you're just doing all the hard work for the agent that calls them. Yeah. It's just like the same thing with a social media post, right? If I put out a video on down payment versus closing costs or what have you, and I don't call my clients or don't follow up them, or I don't send it to someone who's had that question before, then literally I'm just doing work for all the other real estate agents out there. Yeah. And so I think that's something that a lot of people miss. Like they can keep putting out content, but if they're not making the phone call or the contacts to their people, one, they're not doing
capitalizing on it.
Yeah, you know? So I know we were talking about like, okay, so it's like finding an agent that you trust, right? Yeah. And so like
pricing it right as well.
Pricing it right, knowing a little bit about the community, creating that relationship there, right? Because I think, again, selling your home is one of the biggest, I guess, transactions because you've already purchased it. But, you know, probably your second biggest, if not your biggest transaction. Hopefully you gain some equity and you can kind of walk away with more money in your pockets. So it's very important to work with who you trust, that knows a little bit about the community. And again, like I've been in that town for 20, 23 years, right? Like I know what these people are looking for. Even my friends come to me like, Christian, I want to buy this house, this like type of house with this garage and this land, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, good luck. Like, just because there's no inventory, but like I know what they want. So like when I can pinpoint these properties and these people are like, yeah, I want to sell in a year. It's like, okay, great. Like I know exactly who we can get to buy your home. There's going to be people at the door. Let's see what we can maximize here, right? Mm-hmm. I think there's so much around and it's crazy. Like I was freaking out when I found out I could export everything from Remine up to Follow Up Boss and just run with it. I was like, this is gold. Like I'm just going to hit the ground running. And instead of making these constant cold calls online, I can send out these things and it's kind of like a warm introduction, right? With the flyer, and then give them a call. Hey, did you see what I dropped off in your mailbox? And they just keep doing it, right? And then sooner or later, you're the person for that neighborhood. Then you're the person for the next neighborhood. Then you're the person for the town, right? Yeah. Like, I'm on a mission, you know?
I love to hear it.
Yeah, working with who you trust. Let's see what else we got on here. Be flexible with showings. Oh my goodness, that's a huge one.
We were just talking about this
people.
Too.
Okay, do you have a comment on that?
Go ahead.
Like sellers, I get it. There's life happens, right? And there's things that you can't do. Maybe you got some pets. Maybe you work from home.
People that work from home.
Yeah, but when they're like, yeah, only showings on Thursday between 4 and 5 p.m. and then Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. I'm like, do you even want to sell your house? Like, what are we doing here? You know, you're giving yourself no opportunity to get the right buyers in there. And I can kind of speak for some of the showings I went on this weekend. Like, it was such a pain to even schedule an appointment. Mine got canceled like 5 times, and it was in the window that they wanted. I'm like, what do you want from me now?
Yeah.
Like, what can we do? We got to work together, not only as like your agent and your client, but agent to agent, right? We got to work together. Like, my person's interested in the property. Okay, if your seller's interested in selling, I get it. It might not be like the most ideal schedule or timeline, but like, if you cut off all these windows of opportunity, it's only going to make the job 10 times harder.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe it comes back to being a listing agent and setting an expectation of how you're going to get the home sold, rather than letting this person come to you and say, hey, like, this is when I'm showing the home, no exceptions, what have you. And then if it doesn't work out, maybe it's just not the right client for you. Like, maybe you don't have the deal, but.
Agreed.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on like showing time and restrictions and things like that?
I mean, it's frustrating, especially because, like, my biggest frustration is so dumb and, like, petty, but it's when, like, me and my clients are hitting 5 showings in a row, and so I go and do, like, smart route, and 3 of them need an appointment, and 2 of them are going shows, and then 1 dead in the middle gets messed up, so it's like, well, how do you work this around, you know? But yeah, I mean, no availability sucks. But I feel like you just got to do what you got to do.
What are your thoughts? So another one on there was staging. What are your thoughts on staging? And then maybe this is even a question for Liv. Virtual staging versus like normal.
What about it?
Price
point? Or well, like, are you saying price point, or are you saying like as an aesthetic?
I would say that virtual staging is actually a really good deal because it's not expensive and it gets buyers to walk in the door, and then once they're in the door, they're more likely to be like, oh yeah, I actually do like this place.
Yeah. I think it's a good, like, we can call it clickbait without doing the full 9 yards of hauling all the furniture in your house, right? They can see it online. They can kind of picture like whatever it is.
What it would look like.
Yeah, and then in person, the amount of people that are like, oh, I'd put the couch there, the TV there, you know, like they would talk about how they would lay it out, right? I think it's a very good option. I think, Liv, what's the difference in like expense? Do you know?
It's probably close to like $1,600 to $1,800 for like a 1,400 square foot house.
Is that normal staging, or is that?
Yeah, to stage a living room.
And does it matter how long it stays on the market? Like how long?
Days.
Okay.
Is the typical one.
So what is it for virtual?
For virtual staging, it's like, well, it depends on who you ask, but like let's say it's $20 a photo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even $50 a
Gosh,
photo.
that's a deal.
It's sometimes less. Yeah.
That's a deal.
Yeah.
And I mean, damn, $1,600, $1,400, and then if you're doing, let's say, 30 photos times 20, what is that? $600, right? Did I do the math right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. That's $1,000 saved in your pocket, but also you got to look at it as like, if I spend the extra $1,000 and I have it
600.
20 times 30.
Oh wait, no, I was thinking 13. I'm capping.
Right. So it would be even probably less than that.
So usually we do like whatever key photos we want to do virtually staged. It's like maybe $200.
I would love to see like some data between virtually staged properties and like full on staged properties, right? What's the difference in
like
days on market, difference in price sold, and how many showings they get? That would be actually a very interesting study. Maybe I should create it.
You could probably talk to Bright about that.
Well, I don't think there's a way to say virtually staged yes on Bright. So like to pull all that information, I don't think it would be something that I'd have to like manually find virtually staged properties. But then also like how big is your area, right? Is it one little community, or is it the entire town? Is it by county? Is it by state? Like, I feel like there's so many variables, so that would be very hard to track.
Agreed.
I could be wrong, but staging definitely helps sell your property. It just gives people an idea of like what home feels like or what it could feel like, right?
I think it goes back to like envisioning yourself there and like having the room to personalize it.
Yeah.
Go staging.
Have you ever staged a property?
I have not. I would love to do that though. I think that would be
Really?
so much fun.
Really?
So much fun.
I feel like you. I feel like you're not taking into account like the heavy lifting. Like I'm carrying the couch here, and you're like, "Yeah, Christian, just put it over there. Put it over there. Actually, wait, put it like move it that way." And you're just like chilling with your Dunkin' Donuts in the corner. Like this is great.
Don't act like you haven't worked with me before. You know I'm big body. First of all. Second of all. No, like I understand like the realistics of it, but I think like that would just be so much fun. I love like the design aspect of it and like the feng shui. Like I would die. That would be so much fun.
So like I guess I like designing my apartment, my living space, right? But it's just
toothbrush up. Like that's probably about
But
it.
no. So I have like all
Maybe a
my
guitar
concert
amp.
posters with their like tickets in them framed. It's really nice art, and I think
I was surprised by that one. No one? Yeah. Usually not.
you're lucky Mike I hear you would hit the sound and it would be like the little clapping thing, but
No, he wouldn't have. Anywho.
but so like that's I like doing that rather than like carrying all the furniture around. Moving and all that sucks. I can't stand it. I had to bring my mattress. I finally brought my bed to my place in Annapolis, and because I live in a townhouse, I couldn't fix the box spring up. So like I had to get 100-foot rope from Home Depot across the street, tie it to it, and pull it up the side of the townhouse. And I had my dad, my friend, his girlfriend there to all help me. But I can only imagine like staging something like that, right? Like, is what you're paying to stage that property, are you going to get it out of it when it comes to sell? Or if you get away with the virtual staging, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many factors. It just matters about like what works for you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of people come to real estate or they think about it and it's just like one size fits all.
Yeah.
It's far from
it's not
that.
At all.
It's far from that. And it comes back to like, oh, people say I should put this down. People said I should put this down. Oh, they see this video on TikTok that has like 50,000 views. Like, oh, I want to take advantage of that program. Well, like, what if you don't qualify for that?
Yeah.
What if it's just something totally unrelated?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And again, coming back to find a real estate agent you trust.
Yeah.
Boom, mic drop.
Pitfalls.
Pitfalls. What?
Pitfalls.
Like bad things? Overpricing your home, negotiating to prepare. Oh wait, neglecting. God, well, I have my glasses on, believe it or not.
But not your reading eyes.
Failure to disclose information, being inflexible during negotiations. Interesting. I feel like that also falls on the agent.
Yeah. I think it comes back to the like.
Well, coming to your situation, what you were telling me this morning, like this lady is being difficult to work with, like.
Don't say that. We don't defame people.
Where did name drop? You know, I'm about it though. If you want to
just like understand, like I feel like, especially among agents, like we know how this goes. Like you understand that we all just got a lot of information from varying people at varying times throughout Easter weekend.
Yeah.
So it was just a little like wonky. And I mean, I understand that people have schedules and timelines to meet, and like we are literally under schedules and timelines right now. But it's especially with real estate, I feel like there are so many moving pieces. You just need to be flexible, whether you're the agent, whether you're the lender, whether you're the buyer or the seller or whoever you are. So I just feel like being understanding and being flexible. And then when it comes to negotiations, obviously, like keeping the best interest of your client at heart is obviously your intention. Mm-hmm. But in the areas that you can give and make it not so dictatorial, as opposed to like just being like, hey, like this is what I need. This is what you and your sellers need. Like, this is what would help my client. This is what would help yours. How about we meet in the middle? Like, yeah. And just being able to converse and be understanding but firm at the same time. I think you find the two ends of the spectrum, and I don't think there are as many that fall
it's also
in that
like,
even line.
Like, there's times I've had conversations with like a listing agent. Like, my client gets their inspection done. They want like another day or two to review, and I get it. Like, you want to sell your property, but like another day onto the inspection contingency to make a decision if this is the right property for you. Like, and you as a listing agent aren't even going to run it by your client. You're just going to say a hard no. Like, we're all working to get the deal done. Like my
Yeah.
client wants a little bit more time to review this inspection report. Like, don't be a bitch. Don't be a bitch. Excuse me. Don't know we need to bleep that out, but like, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, again, we're all here to get the deal done. We got to find what works for everyone. And something as little as extending that by a day or two, or even like settlement, pushing back a day. Like,
That's
people
what we
like
had to do.
freak about things. It's like, look, at the end of the day, your seller's going to still sell the home. My buyer's still going to buy the home. We're going to get the keys. We're going to do our final walkthrough. We're going to do every single thing that we had already talked about.
Yeah.
It's going to be 24 hours later.
Yeah.
48 hours later, right? Like, there's no harm. And I can get it if, like, maybe it does cause the seller or the buyer to bring more money, or it costs them more money, or what have you.
Yeah.
And then that's understandable. But if it doesn't change any of those circumstances, why does it matter?
Yeah.
And I think that's that can define a good agent versus a bad agent, or one that's really there to get the deal done, or just there to be this controlling monster.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's a power trip. Like it's
Ridiculous. It's
But I feel like you find that across any job code. Like there are people that truly want to uphold the standards and do the best by
it's not
like the
even
people
like
on this side or the
standards.
other.
Standards is such a.
But I feel like everyone should have standard codes of conduct, and I feel like
But you have to
especially
understand
nowadays.
Well, what I was getting at is like there's things that matter and there's things that don't.
Yes.
And for the things that don't, there's some agents that just have to control it. And if like, again, moving back
like
settlement.
grinding the axe though, it should not be within the standard. Like
Grinding
you're not
the
here
axe,
like
though?
you're not trying to like grind your position. Like like if you are being firm about something, it should be to like put the settlement like first. It should be to get the deal closer to settlement.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, you shouldn't
okay.
just
now you
be-
put it into English. Okay, I got it.
Now you understood the English. But yeah. That was great.
Well, it's just so, man, we could go in circles about this all day, you know? But for the things that don't matter, it's like, why are we making a big deal out of this? If you want the control, like, screw it. I'm going to, you know, still represent my client in the best way possible. But like, if you're going to be this way, I don't give a shit. Like,
Yeah.
go be a child, be this controlling person. Like, and I'm just never going to want to work with you again.
Yeah.
Right. Like, this is going to be your reputation in the business that you're running. And then when it comes for the flip end, you're putting an offer in on my home. Oh, good luck. You know, if it ain't the highest price with the biggest EMD and no
You
contingencies.
really care about this EMD.
Well, I don't, but
Every time we've talked about like things to like make your offer more
well, it's just some things you can
like,
do.
EMD.
No, I'm not even. That's cap. That is cap. Not even. So like, again, you just learn stuff all the time. So if you can do the second EMD that we were talking about, yeah, whatever. When I'm looking at things and someone's like $1,000 EMD or between 1,000, 3,000 or whatever, unless it's something substantially large, like I really don't think there's a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
And there's more factors to take in consideration, right? Like, again, what if you had one EMD, then you had a second one after the inspection, right? To make it a little bit more competitive. What if you, I don't know, just had a more competitive settlement date, or you up the price? Does your EMD really matter? So like if you had a $10,000 EMD and your offer was $300,000, or if you had an offer at $310,000 and the EMD was $2,000, what are you going to take?
Yeah.
Does that $10,000 EMD really mean anything?
No.
No. If the only thing that it means, if the deal falls apart, maybe you can have some of that money. But if it closes, you're going to get the $10,000 from there and then whatever else your proceeds are. But if the $310,000 property closes and it had a $2,000 EMD, you're going to get that $2,000 plus all the other proceeds at $310,000.
Yeah.
So like, really, does it have an effect? It's just, again, talking to your agent about what works for you and how we can make you more competitive and how you can just position yourself.
Yeah.
Gang.
We love to hear it.
Gang, baby.
We love to hear it.
11:49. Do you wanna wrap this up?
Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts about things to either do or to avoid when it comes to listing your market?
Listing your market.
Listing the market right now. Listing your home in this market.
Just work with the right people, talk to the right people, have conversations. I think that never hurts anybody. And for kind of like our annual equity reviews, right? There's a statistic on there that says, I think it was, Liv, is it 61% of people don't know the value of the home, or like?
Sure, yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, great. Everyone just heard sure. Sure. There's a lot of people out there that don't know the value of their home, that doesn't know what's actually going on in the market. So having the conversation with people about, what's going on, what your real estate net worth is very important. I think that's just half of it right there, right? And then if you're actually looking to sell, let's take the time, sit down, really narrow down what we can sell your home for, what you could walk away with, how we'll get your property sold, right? For the most amount of money and the quickest time. And that's my closing right there.
2 cents.
Anything for you?
No.
Cool. Also, we're sending out some annual equity reviews. I am, at least. Heather probably sends some out, the whole team. If you want one, send us a DM. You can find me on Instagram at Christian the Deadhead. You can email me at christian@frankoliverco.com and give me a shout, 443-214-0933. Heather, how can they find you?
Heather Kelley 230 on Instagram and TikTok. Kelley is spelled with an EY. And if you're trying to email me, it's hkelly@frankoliverco.com.
How do you have TikTok and not Instagram? You deleted Instagram, but you keep TikTok?
I deleted both of them, but you can follow me.
Awesome. Well, hey, also we got a home buyer event coming up here April 22nd. I'm sure there'll be some details in the description or something like that. Or if you want to come, send us a DM. We'll send you the link to sign up. Hope to see you there. And we'll catch you next week.
Perfect. Thank you guys.
Oh my God.